Hello Evertonians and welcome to another episode of the All Together Now podcast. I'm Tony Scott, joined by Gavin Buckland and David Hughes. Lots to discuss on this week's show. It's got the Everton versus Watford preview. Also we'll ask the lads' thoughts on Everton versus Crystal Palace last weekend. We're discussing our League Cup draw against Lincoln, give the guys' thoughts on that one. Also it's interesting, we hear thoughts from Marco Silva and Marcel Brands during the week. We'll get the guys' thoughts on that one. And also the Twitter and Facebook questions have came in. And obviously to top the podcast off, we'll be discussing Watford versus Everton on Saturday, our first home match of the season. First up, gents, to start us off, Gav, you can have first go on this one. Quick summary of Crystal Palace last weekend.
First 45 minutes, pretty similar to last season, wasn't it? Everton had all the possession, didn't really create much. Palace really didn't created even less. I think the Gomez going off changed the dynamic a little bit. We brought Gavin on, which meant we effectively had two defensive midfielders against a team not quite happy to sit back. And that meant we really didn't create anything in the second half as such. Disappointed with the Schneiderlin dismissal. And that was about it really. I mean, it showed up some of our weaknesses that we know for a while against the teams that sit back.
David,
we struggle, need more creativity.
David, do you agree with Gav, or do you think that Everton did play well, just very unfortunate to not get the victory?
Not necessarily, no. I just I think I've said it before. It was just that it was almost within the theme of wearing last season's kit. You know, it was the same type of performance, same formation. It was almost the same game. It was same possession, same number of shots on target. Just everything about it just felt very last season. So I don't really think we can look too much into it. It certainly wasn't probably the Everton side we're going to see this season in terms of tactics or personnel. So. There's not a lot you can take from that game, to be honest.
A couple of standouts for me. I thought Jordan Pickford played well. 2 big saves, critical when obviously you need your keeper to pull off a good save. I thought he did quite well. An interesting one that divides opinion is Morgan Schneiderlin. Now, you're either in the Schneiderlin in or out camp really, aren't you? And I've been firmly out of it. I think some of the stuff off the pitch hasn't sit right with me, the stories that you hear that he wanted to leave, etc. But what I can't fault towards the back end of last season, and even on Saturday, I thought he's one of Everton's better players. And you've said it many times that there is a role for Morgan Schneiderlin in this team, and it was only justified, wasn't it, on Saturday?
Yeah, I must say I'm not as big a fan. I wouldn't shed a tear if he left, but certainly, when things were tough last season and post that 17-day break where Everton went to Cardiff and really needed a win, he come in and put in a really good performance. If you remember, he played against Liverpool as well and played well there. Then Everton just looks so much more assured with him in the side. Now, I must say, I don't think he's the answer long term, but touching on what you've just said, I do think there's certainly a role for him, and he can come in certain games and do a job.
You agree with that, Gav, Schneiderlin?
Absolutely. I mean, well, it's not a fan of Schneider. I'm not a fan of the defensive midfielder in Silva's system. I think that's essential for me. Someone who'll sit deep. So I think while Gavin is sort of finding his feet, I think Schneiderlin has got a really big part to play for us, albeit maybe not on Saturday for obvious reasons. And I think there was that stat knocking about last weekend. It says that the 10 games we played since he come back in February, you've only conceded goals in one of them was at Spurs. We just look defensively far more secure when he's on the pitch. And it was disappointing that he went off on Saturday really for 2 stupid headers, wasn't it really? Descent and then putting in a stupid tackle when you're on a yellow card. Yeah. And I think he's an ideal player for Silva's system at the moment. I'd say Dave's sentiments that it's maybe not the long-term solution, but the defensive midfielder for me is a long-term solution.
Well, during the week, Everton were drawn up against Lincoln City in the Carabao Cup. Now we've learned, obviously, just a couple of hours ago that Sky have smelt a bit of an upset here and they've decided to televise it live on air. It's going to be on Wednesday, the 28th of August, live on Sky. They can smell an upset. Can you, David?
Certainly in that competition, yeah. Record's not great, is it? So you'd like to think not, because it's got to be a priority this season. I hope Silva's learnt his lesson from that Southampton game last season, where it felt like we didn't really put out a great side, didn't put in a great performance, and ended up going out to certainly one of the poorer sides in the division. So I hope he takes it serious. If he does, it should be a comfortable win, but it makes it just that little bit more tougher that's away from home. So I hope it's an easy night for them, but I'm a little bit nervous, I won't lie.
I backed actually Lincoln to win their division. They performed really well last year.
Not the League Cup, though.
It's not the League Cup, no. I think they're a decent side, Lincoln, to be fair. Literally romped away with their division last year, League 2, and they've got off to a great start this year in League 1. So I think Everton for a tough game down there, I really do, and it has got all the hallmarks. If you're the Sky producer, you can see why they picked it, can't you?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me of that game is you could imagine about an hour before kick-off, every Everton fan will be on social media whatever to see what the lineup is. Ready for a bit of a few comments, and that'll be the fascinating thing for me, really, the Everton lineup that day. Woe betide Marco if he puts anything like a weekend team out amongst Everton fans, and I think he's probably learned his lesson from last year in the same competition. So I think when I say it's winnable, we should come away with a victory, but I think the team that he puts out is probably more important at this stage for me in terms of getting there. Do
you both think it becomes a little bit tougher in the fact that we played them this year already, in the sense that they maybe haven't got that, I wouldn't say fear, I don't know if they had fear, so to speak.
I thought they did quite well at Goodson.
Yeah, exactly, and they're a bit more familiar. They've already studied the team as an opposition. I just wonder if it makes it a little bit more appealing for
two
them.
things there. I think it's the opposite.
Okay.
I think they'll know more about us anyway going into that because they see us on the telly every week. We don't necessarily have the same access to their games.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing, and I think the second thing is, I can't remember what game it was last year. I think them being home will put a little bit more pressure on them.
Oh yeah, to actually get something from it.
Like
that's what worries me.
I remember saying the same thing. We went to Millwall last year. So to play down there and up here because they've got more pressure. So we've got a great track record of that theory. But I do think it's slightly a bit more. It's a different game for them, and I think we'll know a lot more about them as a result of the FA Cup game last season than they'll know about us.
Definitely.
It's an interesting subplot at least, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's one that Marco Silva spoke about in last week's press conference when he was asked straight after the transfer deadline about what's your ambitions, your targets for the season. He did openly say these cups now are there to be targeted, and it's one of many things he did say last week. And also he was asked about the transfer the market, and he did say on record, you look at the money some of the clubs are asking for players, and the market is really difficult in England to buy players inside. It is basically unbelievable what English clubs are asking. Have you got sympathy for them, Gav?
Yes, I think I've got for him and Brands. I know we'll be talking about Brands separately, but I think English clubs, they reckon, don't they, that I can't remember what the percentage is, but if an English club goes for a player on the continent and say an Italian club goes for a player on the continent, the team who are selling that player will charge the English club a significantly amount more money than what they will do to
that's just else. The nature because of the Premier League.
Because it's in the Premier League. That doesn't help. I know what Marco's saying.
I think he was getting at Crystal Palace for basically asking 80 million
okay. I get that, but I do think we didn't buy necessarily, the players that we didn't buy at the end of the transfer window, or the positions that were weaker, so not necessarily because we just placed out the market. It's because I think in some instance perhaps we appear to put all our eggs in the Zuma basket, didn't we, for the start. We ended up going back to United over, or reportedly going back over Rocco. So I do think there's an element of that, but I don't think that was necessarily the reason why perhaps we didn't get all our targets at the end of the window. Which he spoke about that as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he also spoke, David, and this was an interesting quote he started off with. He said, we now start the season with 3 centre defenders, Keane, Mina and Holgate. It's interesting you mentioned Holgate there. I just wouldn't class him as a first team.
I don't think he has a choice, does he?
No, yeah, basically, yeah. He basically says it is what it is. He said, "We have to deal with it to the best way we can, and if you were to ask me, it's a risk. We've lost 2 important players. We've sold 18 players, and we've signed 7. If you look at it and the money spent, we've basically spent £28 million. Now, for him to come out with little snippets like that, it seems to me as if he's not all well happy with how the market's gone.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say we spent 28 million. Well, we sold Henry and Akuru during the week, so you could basically half that again.
Yeah.
So if you look at the market overall, I think Everton have spent the best part of 15 million.
Yeah. But I've touched on this before, haven't I? Where I think that everybody has this idea, and I'm sure they are pulling in the same direction. But at the end of the day, Brands wants to run the club in a certain way, whereas Silva's shelf life could potentially be a lot shorter at the club. So he's not thinking maybe 5 years in advance. He's thinking about that up and coming season, because he knows if Everton bomb, he's going to lose his job.
Bottom half, Everton's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he will be more focused on spending more money to get better players in, whereas Brands probably isn't that. So there might be a little bit of a civil war going in there, which I think is just part and parcel of that kind of director of football and manager role. So yeah, but it is a difficult market. You know, I would have been devastated if Everton would have spent 25-30 million on Rocco from United.
Yeah.
And I said it about the striker. I made up Everton got Moise Kean in, but I did say about I wouldn't like to see them spend money for money's sake on players who aren't worth it, because it will have a domino effect, you know, in the next window or maybe next summer. Like
Tosin and Walcott from
Allardyce. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, big wages, big budget spent. And you know, we're building a stadium soon, so we can't just be blown. We talked about it with Zaha. You know, 85 mil or whatever it was Palace wanted. That's a third of the stadium potentially. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
What did you make of them quotes, Gav, that he came out with? Basically saying how much we've spent, the players that have gone out, the players we've signed. Does it seem to you as if he was happy?
Not necessarily. Considering it's quite clear what targets he wanted, and we've probably left one short. I'd argue we left 2 short at the back, because we've got rid of 2, and but all, you know, because we could argue bring a whole gate back partially mitigates that. I suspect that, like David said, there's probably been 1 or 2 interesting conversations within Finch Farm, and I can see it's that class of friction, isn't it? The short-term responsibilities of the manager and the long-term strategy that the director of football's got to operate within. But the key thing there is the one thing that they're both operating under is financial constraints, isn't it?
Yeah, that's important.
Both the club's finances and the rules.
Yeah.
And I think that the transfer window for me this year was not necessarily about getting the best deal for Everton for the future. It was actually, we need to get rid of a load of players just to balance the books and live within regulations. So we appear to have done that. And I think it was always going to be difficult living within financial regulations. Brands getting what he wanted, and Marco getting what he wanted. I don't think we could have done all 3 things, you know. Something had to give within that. I suggest that out of those things, maybe Brands and the financial stuff was probably won out.
Yeah.
Marco was probably entitled, I would say, as a manager to maybe have a little bit of a, not a moan, but you know, to sort of put his cards on the table to a degree. Having said that, I don't know what it was. Did Marco want Zuma all summer then like lose out?
Yeah.
So you don't know, do you?
I think if I was to ask you before the window started that Everton would lose, I know you weren't the biggest Ajisagana guy fan. I'm probably asking the wrong person here, but if you were to lose Ajisagana guy and Kurt Zuma, do not replace Zuma and sign an untested Gabamin. So in England from Germany, you probably wouldn't be happy with that, would you?
Yeah.
If you were to probably nail Silva,
I think another facet to that is, you know, we still don't know how good Yerry Mina is, really, do we? And now he's
performed well on Saturday, to be fair.
Yeah, he has, but over a sustained period.
Yeah.
And yet now he's one of the main 2, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
That'd be the only 2.
Exactly.
Bring the beats on Saturday, yeah.
So that's more pressure there. In an ideal world, I think he would have preferred Mina to be the 3rd centre back this season and try and bed him in rather than just relying on him. So Yeah, I can understand it, but what I do want to give a quick nod to on what Gav touched on was the fact we sold X amount of players, because certainly the players are a little bit older. It's tough to do in this market, because whilst we're saying we want Everton to invest in younger players, so does every other club now. It seems to be a model that everybody's trying to follow. So you're now struggling to sell these players who are in the peak years, especially on big wages. So for Everton to kind of sell players that, you know, like your James McCarthy's and stuff, I think they've done really well.
I think that was a good deal, that wasn't it? What was that? Yeah.
I think he got $3.5 million up front, rising to $8 million, and big wages off there. And I think he's completed one match in 3 years.
Exactly. So that was a great deal.
It was a great deal.
Just go back to your point about it's just a guy in the midfield, and you were saying, we've got guy out, and then we've got Gababin in. Well, I'm not sure that's a like replacement for me. I think Gababin is that. Please tell me that's his name. Yeah, Gababin. Is a defensive midfielder that we need. Going back to what like Schneiderlin not being the long term option, I see Delph maybe as more of as strengthening the midfield as well. So I think we've lost. Can we get this right? Guy. Yeah. And we've got in Gababin and Delph. So we've lost one and gained two, because if you count Gomez as being from last year. So I think we've got a few more options in midfield than what we did last season. I don't think, for me, I don't think that guys who play you can replace on the basis of that. I don't think many players have operator's role, you know, within European football, never mind English football, unless you want to get County from Chelsea, but you know, so I don't think we should look at losing Guy and getting Gababin in as a like for like replacement.
And hopefully if Zuma continues to play the way he's playing, we might get him for nothing in January.
Dare I say, and I've said it before, so I feel like I'm entitled to say this, I think the Zuma train got a little bit out of hand, to be honest. I think he was a solid defender. I think he done well with Keane, but I don't think he was at the levels that people make him out to be. And I'm not saying he's getting found out at Chelsea by any means, because could just be in a couple of bad games. I think he is a solid defender, but I equally don't think he's, you know, move heaven and earth to bring him in either. I think there's better alternatives out there.
I spoke to someone at Everton at the unveiling at the stadium a couple of weeks ago, and
they were telling me stadium,
when the it's going to go, and he was telling me that I think fans need to realise it's about this FFP. He said that honestly, the implications that it can have on us as a club. He said we've got to go with it. He said it's going to come down us like a ton of bricks. He said we've got to work within our budget. He said they're going to come at us. He said, and we need to get this across. And you can see now, like I think Everton could actually make a profit if they get rid of Morales and Balassi and Nias, because it ends up in a profit in this window, which is amazing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but we need the profit to make up for the losses elsewhere. You know, of course, and I think, you know, the you know, without going on about this, the priority of the transfer window was probably to cut the wages budget. You know, it's what was it, 80% of our income, which is one of the highest, if not, you know, second or third highest in the Premier League. You know, so that was the main priority. And I think we've done a good job. We've got some good fees in. I mean, and there's still a couple of weeks left in the European window. Is there? Hopefully, a few Morales might go to. You know, maybe not.
Hopefully he's on that boat there. Past the Mersey as we say.
He's our new attacking right back.
Don't even go there.
So I think the window's not finished yet. So, you know, in terms of if we get 3 or 4 players out the door,
I'll give him away. Just get him off the wages.
Good point. If you're on the last year of the contract,
definitely. Just a couple of Twitter Q&As to go through here. Paul Grant has asked, loads asking for a change in formation with Everton. Maybe take Gylfi Sigurdsson out. Do you see this as an option? I'm not sure where the additional goals come from, if that's the case.
I want to give a nod to Paul, actually, because he's a good lad. He comes over with us for the home games from Dublin. You could do with getting around in, like, but he's alright.
Bit like yourself.
Yeah,
you'd like to sit in that round, would you?
Yeah, just sit there with the water.
Worth noting here that I'm drinking water.
He is, by the way, he is.
You two lager louts of...
Well, you know what that was, Gav, right? I just wanted the water with you, but he was guilting me into buying a pint, so I couldn't let this reputation
Imagine being in that round with you and Paul. Terrible, you go on the bar, you know.
It's alright, there's a few more of us, so they buy the...
You ask an intelligent question, by the way. Change your formation. Is it worth it taking Sigurdsson out? Maybe go 4-4-2 with Moise Keane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
I've said for a while, and obviously it's something Silver said when he first come in, I'd like to see Everton attempt a 4-3-3. You know, Silver said he was a fan of it, he's played it elsewhere, and I think now we could justify having certainly the front line to do it.
Who would be your three midfield?
Well, I think Gababin comes in.
Yeah.
Delph as well.
Yeah.
And then probably Gomez, and what you're looking for is kind of keep that as a fairly robust, narrow midfield for me, and build your attacks down the two wing backs, and hopefully have the.
Who's your three up front?
I'd put Iwobi up there.
Yeah.
Moise Kean, and Richarlison. I think that's a solid.
No Sigurdsson.
No, listen. The thing is with Sigurdsson, a lot of people dislike him. I don't dislike him, and he scored 14 goals last season and 6 assists. So, you know, he contributes a lot in that sense. But I did say if Everton could find a formation that would not only match that goal output but maybe improve it, then he should come out to the side, because from an attacking midfielder, he doesn't contribute enough. He's not creative enough. He averages around just over 20 passes per game. If you look at, you know, you can look at Eriksen's and stuff, but let's look more at our level. If you look at Maddison, for example, who I think is another creative midfielder,
a team by us,
he averages closer to 40 per game. So
getting involved a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think Sigurdsson just struggles because he doesn't have that burst of pace, does he? So he can get lost in the opposition's defensive structure too much for me. As I said, I'm a big fan of him. I'm not putting him down, but I just think he can come out, and equally, I think he's 30 this year. You've got to start building your team for the future. So, yeah, it's not that I don't like him. I don't want to get any stick about not liking him. I do. He contributed a lot last year. I said we needed to find a formation that would bring his goals for him to come out. I think with the personnel we've got this season, he could potentially start playing less of a starting role.
David's a 4-3-3 man. We're not going to mention the team that he's copied that one off. Who's your formation?
Oh yeah, we're not talking about this.
What I'd say, but I don't see Sigurdsson as being a midfielder. I mean, he's not a creative midfielder, is he? I mean, I don't think you can compare. Likes of Eriksen and Maddison are creative midfielders who sit deep, won't they? Sit deeper and get the ball and use it and, you know, move it forward and stuff. Sigurdsson for me is a player of moments that will give you during the game. He'll obviously do nothing, but he'll give you 2 or 3 quality moments during the match. Either usually attempt on goal or goals, you know, and often spectacular goals as well. So to me, it's a bit like Dele Alli when Dele Alli was good. Is that you wouldn't see Dele Alli for the game, but during the game will give you 2 or 3 things, you know, as a sort of second striker.
Can you house them players though?
Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? And it goes back to your original point. It's whether to me, it's just as much a luxury as what having a Disagana Gay as an attacking midfielder who does, you know. Would
Sigurdsson have been sold to PSG at 30 years of age?
No, but
there you go.
That's demand and supply, what clubs need. I mean, Sigurdsson's been sold to us for 48 million.
Yeah. We're not PSG.
At the same similar age. But I think he's a player of moments, and he does stunt us tactically, doesn't he? It basically means that we can't play a flat play in midfield. It also means we've probably got to play a striker for him to play off. You can't play Sigurdsson and a mobile front three, can you? That move across. Yeah. He has to play behind the striker. So in many ways, not only does it affect our midfield setup, but also affects the players that we can put up front.
Yeah, true.
So I was interested to say, I know we're going to talk about Brands' comments, but he does say about Iwobi that we bought him as competition for Sigurdsson, which is interesting, because they obviously think that maybe, you know, the impression maybe that's been given is Sigurdsson is one of the first names on the team sheet, can't be dropped. Yeah. We bought him for 48 million quid, so therefore, you know, he's going to be playing every game. I suspect that there's maybe you know, an opportunity here to revisit those assumptions, and that we could go with something like Dave said would be fine, a bit of a mobile front three and a more a flatter sort of tighter three in the middle, and I think that Gabon and Gomez, Delph seems to be like a little bit a far better balanced midfield than what we've had over the last couple of years.
But staying with that top end of the pitch, Gav, James Brown asks, what's the opinions on Dominic Calvert-Lewin role in the team? Seems to do everything but put the ball in the back of the net, but that's what strikers are there for, aren't they, David?
Come to me, yeah.
Yeah, go see him. TCL.
So, I'm a big fan of the work he does, and I still think he can go on to be a good Premier League striker. I think, if he was around 10-15 years ago, he could have been perfect in a 4-4-2, with a striking partner. But yeah, it's just his goal record, unfortunately. It doesn't seem to be doing enough. Well, actually, no, I'm going to rephrase that. I think if he had another striker who was more prolific, it wouldn't look too bad. What did he get last season? Was it about 10?
No, it was less than that. I think it was
about 6 in the Premier League, 6 in the Premier League, 2 in the Cup, about 8 goals altogether.
But but how old is he? 21.
Yeah.
8 goals isn't terrible at all at Premier League level.
2 or 3 years older than Moise Keane.
Well, we don't know when he's going to score. Alright, but except all that, for me, I'd happily drop him this weekend and bring in Moise Keane. Yeah, I would, yeah. But that's with that tactical adjustment if we could implement it. I think he's okay in that 4-2-3-1 where he done really well last year where Everton were pressing some of the top teams at Goodison. Because he does harry and he's a great outball as well. He'll run the flanks, run in behind the defence, but it's just his record in front of goal isn't great, and there's been a few too many big chances that you just needed him to convert really to kind of keep the monkey off his back.
Yeah. I don't think he's scored since he was at Newcastle or something like that. Was his last goal. I agree. He's good outball. I think when teams are pressing you, and you want to not hit it long to beat the press, I think he's ideal. But it's all about sticking the ball in the onion bag, isn't it? If you're the striker, and I think he's got 11 goals in 80 odd Premier League appearances for us. Not necessarily, I think half and half in terms of subs and starts, so maybe that's a little bit unfair. But I think what is long-term future of the club is an interesting one, isn't it?
Definitely.
Because if you brought players in that area of the pitch, and may do in the next 12 months, he's had quite a lot of opportunities really. I mean, I know he says his age, but he's had 80 odd Premier League games, as I say, and cup games as well and stuff, so it's not as if he's only played the season for us.
I think what doesn't help is that there's obviously Richarlison, who's the same age as him, banging in 10 or 15 a season in and playing out of his skin.
I mean, legitimately, what he could say is, and I think certainly last year was true, is, well, what sort of service am I getting? Richarlison can make things happen, can't he, out wide and so on.
Doesn't create much, does he, on Richarlison, I think.
But that's the point, isn't it, really? I mean, he's playing centre forwards where, like last season, he wasn't really getting much off the midfield, and the wide players we've used really are not great creators as such. No. So he could argue quite legitimately. Well, actually, I wasn't really given a hell of a lots of work with it in terms of the penalty.
And he roughed up some decent centre backs towards the back end of last season, didn't he?
Played excellently
against Chelsea and Arsenal. He tore Arsenal to shreds on his own up front. Manchester United, he bullied their centre backs.
But like dare I say, Palace 0-0. If there's been a couple of games, I think maybe where Rom scored when we won 1-0 down there, something like that. That's the difference between having a 6-goal season striker and 20 or 25 goals season striker, isn't it?
And that's one that hopefully Marcel Brands can bring in another striker maybe in January. Now, before we just came on, Marcel Brands has been speaking to Everton TV and he's come out with some interesting quotes. David, just run through some of the quotes he's came out with for us.
So we spoke about Moise Keane when he said, we spoke about a possible loan in the winter. It's important you let the player also know he is the right fit for this club. He's young, we'll give him time, and I'm really confident he'll have a good future here.
So that's interesting that they've been tracking this lad for a long while. It weren't just a panic buy towards the end of the window, and they wanted any centre forward. They've been looking at him, and it looks as though they've been sucking him for a long while.
What I really like is he only really exploded for Juventus in the second half of the season, which was post that window. And that's where he really landed on everyone's radar. So it's pleasing that the club were already aware of what he could do before then.
I think it was sorry to interrupt. Do you think I've heard Marcel Brands was probably turning his hair out when he burst on the scene?
Yeah, it might have been bittersweet. He probably was satisfied that he knew this kid had something about him, but then thought, well, that's probably doubled.
yeah. In effect, it didn't really. We've got him for basically. Really
I was going to say, Marcel's got plenty of hair to turn.
I wouldn't mind a bit of that myself. I wouldn't mind a bit of that myself. Got a good head. You can see. Yeah. You can see. I grew up watching Everton. I haven't seen them win a thing in my life. This fella seen league championships. He has a hair on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Has a hair on. What else has he got to say, Marcel?
Told about Gavin. He said, I knew him from my time at PSV. I tried to get him a couple of years ago, but he ended up going to Mans, which we know. From the moment we saw the possibility of Garner going to PSG, he was top of our list.
It's interesting. They've got the number one priority in, and that is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, we do all like him, don't we? Is that a fair assessment?
I think it's an area of the pitch we need to strengthen.
Yeah.
So I like him. I like the transfer on that basis. I'm not apart from 45 minutes on Saturday where he's perhaps unfairly judged. I'm not really seeing a lot of I can't say I was ever a season ticket holder at Mainz. You probably were though, weren't you? Your knowledge.
The laptop, mate.
So I don't know, but it needs the right age profile, etc. So a fan of that Stan.
What else has been Marcel had to say?
He talked about Iwobi as well. He said he's a boy that can play in different positions. In our team, we do not have much competition for Gylfi. But we now have Alex. The most important thing is he has goals and assists in his game, and that's something we're looking for. I mean, I'm not sure of the goals, but
I think someone pointed out the other week is creativity in the final thirds from open plays, like right up there with Europe's best. Must have been David, look. I think it's...
You knew that,
I knew someone mentioned it.
I've been doing pods with him for years.
I knew someone mentioned it. Speak to nobody's people to speak to about Everton. It goes to show though, in all seriousness, that he's right up there with Europe's best when it comes to creating the final third. And I think we've touched on is that you can have midfielders that just get the stats up for pass completion and pass it sideways and backwards. In Iwobi's case, he seems to want to keep trying and make that final ball in the final third, make it the difference, and he'll keep on trying. And if his pass completion's really bad, so what? He could put a killer ball through, and it makes the difference. And it maybe if you're looking at it, you can make stats out of anything. Don't get me wrong, but when you see the ones in the final third and the attempts and from open play as well, anyone can whip a delivery. And you've seen obviously Sigurdsson can do that. From open play, there's a difference. You've got to be a good player to do that, haven't you?
Yeah. When you look at his open play creativity numbers, I mean, they're so padded out by set pieces, Sigurdsson. I don't think he ranks in the top 30 in some of the departments in the Premier League.
I don't think any stats will ever show Sigurdsson in a great light. It is a place to play at moments, you know. It will be, I think I was having a look last night, 150th game in this country if he plays on Saturday. I was told when you think about plays, it's relatively new, but 150 games is a lot of matches. I like him. It's interesting in some matches if you play 4-3-3, would you have him as one of the middle three?
So you know
as
what?
a midfielder,
that's through the week. Somebody said that to me.
Yeah, as you play him, like it's interesting to see. I mean, just think about Brand's comments about as a competition for Siggy, that whether he would like in some matches play 3 forwards and Iwobi as a sort of forward midfielder as such, a bit like Sigurdsson, but maybe a little bit more mobile, and maybe then play 2 holding midfielders or something like that. But the good thing is we get more options in that area of the pitch, is what we need.
They're diverse.
I was happy with that time last minute, wasn't it?
It was indeed. Last seconds it was. Anything else?
Yeah, a couple more. Sidibe. We wanted to find a replacement to give some competition to Seamus. This is quite interesting. They were only looking for a loan because we didn't want to bring in a permanent deal in the position because we wanted to see how John Joe develops.
That is interesting, that, because I'm sure there would have been suitors out there for John Joe's signature from Championship, even League One. There was a bought him, so it shows you how highly they think of him. And there could be potential there for him to be Everton's right back in years to come. So they've got obviously today being on loan. You know what? Yeah, I like that they're willing to give a young lad a chance, because you've seen what they've done with numerous under-23 players this season. They've sold a few of them, as we've seen. So it shows you go, do you know what? Go and try your hand in a big league in Europe. Let's see how you get on, and if you do well, then you're within a shout. So it's up to John Joe now and over there now to go, do you know what? If I prove well here and play against you Bayern Munich, and he could prove out to be a good for Everton in the future. So it gives him the chance, doesn't it?
You can see the logic there, can't you? There's no point sending John Joe alone and then bringing in the second pair of right backers. Well, what's the point of sending John Joe alone? You might have just sold him, mightn't you? You know? So what I like about Brands is there's a rationale to everything that's being done. We might have a bit of a moan about we never got all the players and stuff, but every single move and every transfer we make in and out, there's a clear rationale behind it, you know. And the other good thing I like about it is, in the context of the 16, is we've now got basically everybody in the team who's got competition for the place. Sometimes even two players.
Apart from one position.
Apart from centre half, Well, you could argue that Hoggy is potentially competition, but you know, players who previously haven't had a lot of competition last season, I'd say Seamus will probably be there, and Six have not got competition this year, which is good. So there's lots of, you can see there's a lot of brain power operating there at the moment.
Last one talks about Delph. He brings some character and leadership that we could use in the dressing room and on the pitch. After speaking with him on the plans for the club, he got very excited.
We've seen Delph's leadership skills, haven't we, in that Manchester City documentary that was on Amazon, I think it was. I was a bit sceptical about this transfer. He's going to be on big money. He hasn't left Manchester City for a freebie, has he?
No.
I know it was 8 million and it's buttons in this day and age, but his injury record really worried me, and I mentioned it when we actually signed him. I think I did mention that he's played 30 plus games in one season out the last 10, which doesn't bode well. It's coming to the tail end of his career, but if Everton are looking at it going, do you know what he brings to the dressing room, and if he can play in big games, there may be a time when we're in a derby or we're playing in a semi-final and we need to bring someone on, or he can kill the ball. He's got a bit of a know-how in big games, hasn't he? Maybe that could influence the rest of the team, then so be it. I'm all for that. But in terms of the long-term plan, I look at big wages. What contract is he on? Is it 3 years, is it?
Couldn't tell you.
Well, whatever the contract is, I'm sure Marcel Brands knows exactly what he's doing. He just needs anyone to criticise him. But I'll look at it and thinking, I don't know what the injury record.
I think he was fit last year. I don't think he just played that many games last year. He got injured.
He played left back. He played left back for a large part of it.
Brands, funny enough, Brands said that in the interview, which I'm not sure was mentioned. They said it was a very difficult negotiation because of his age and like the fact he was coming on a low transfer fee. Obviously, I get the impression that the wages were quite a big discussion piece, you know. Just for doing this pod. But I think I can see the logic around the leadership, and I think he's a good sign, and if he assuming he stays fit, and you know, I think I like our balance in midfield, as I say. You know, I think that should be useful.
It should be useful if we're looking forward to Saturday, our first home match of the season. Goodison will be bouncing, been sold out for weeks. What are you looking forward to the most, Gav, on Saturday?
Signing copies of my book.
Yes, get it in there. That's the one we want to hear. Get down to St Luke's Church. Saturday, what time, Gav?
From 1 o'clock, I'll be signing copies of Money Can't Buy Us Love before the game. So please make sure you turn up and have a chin mic. I'm sure I'll be down there as well with Gav. But not signing copies or getting photos, by the way. Then I'm going home. So apart from off the pitch, on the pitch, what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to a victory. For the simple reason that I think if we win on Saturday, I would have said 4 points from our first 2 games, where Palace beat Watford. I'd take that, you know. If we don't win, it puts the Palace draw in a different perspective. So for me, on Saturday, the result is everything. Bear in mind that we've got to get points in the first. We've got to go on the 6 or 7 games at the start of the season. I'm looking for points, not performances in those games, to be fair. What are you looking forward to the most, David?
hopefully a win. I don't know if you can brand a team in free fall when you've had a summer break, but certainly if you look at the back end of last season going into this season, Watford don't look that great at the moment. In terms of competitive fixtures, they haven't kept a clean sheet in something like 16 games, and
there's that stat gone.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
He does that as well. He hasn't got it written down.
No clean sheets in 16.
Yeah.
Watford's no win at Goodison Park in their history. You can have that one.
Anyway, so that result was a bad one for them last weekend. Beat at home 3-0 to Brighton. I think we've got to capitalise on that. I think, touch wood, I hope I don't get my eye white, but I'd like to think Everton can win it quite comfortably.
Do you know what? I'm going to get all nostalgic here. I'm looking forward to just getting to Goodison and the crowd to be bouncing again. And I think what's happened at the Bramley Moore, what we've witnessed over the summer, and we've seen the plans, and it's sunk into every Everton fan that we actually are moving now, and it's sort of whoa. And you're going to be going to Goodison now and going, wow, this isn't. There's not going to be what? Yeah. There's going to be 2 or 3 of these opening days where you're going to be, the first home match of the season. And if you're looking around, and I think there'll be a lot of fans there on Saturday, you'll be looking around going, this isn't going to be our home in 2 or 3 years' time. And I think it is. It's going to be a chance just enjoy it now, and we can. And I'm looking forward to that more than most.
Yeah, I think going back to Dave's point, I think historically for me, teams who tend to have a really bad end to the season never tend to pick it up at the start of next year, and I think Watford did had a good first half of the season. I think up until about when they beat us, I think he sort of tailed off then. Obviously, then he got a bit of a tonkin in the cup final, which didn't help. And I think we need to avoid last year. I think we got a little bit overpowered last year against them, didn't we? In the middle of the park, I think. So we need to avoid that happening. I know we're going to talk about the middle of the park in a minute, but I think if we play to our potential, then I think if Watford struggle, I think we should be okay for 3 points.
David, the team, the defence, the back 5 picks itself, we presume. Coleman, Dean, Mina, Keane and Pickford. The way Marco Silva sets his team out in his formation, who do you see in that midfield too?
If he's playing the 4-2-3-1,
4-2-3-1, that
I think Gavin gets his start, doesn't he?
Yeah. Even though we weren't.
But don't
he weren't the best. I know what you're going to say. It was his debut when he was sent on. He had a 4 weeks training. I get that, but I'm not having a go with him. By the way, I don't want this to come across as if I'm shooting him down. But he just looks sometimes like he was just lost.
Yeah.
There was a moment in the second half where he had the ball in our half and there was no one near him. And the next minute he was just turning around and they swarmed him and took the ball off him. I thought, you've got a lot to learn in this league, do you know what I mean? But that's he's obviously going to learn. People are going to be kicking him and training him, letting him know what it's about. So hopefully a good week's training at Finch Farm with the first team under Silva will stand him in good stead going into Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, he has to start him for me. What else do we do?
Well, we don't know what the Gomez situation is.
I think I'm pretty confident Gomez isn't going to be fit for it, because I think the club, although they'd like to play the cards close to the chest, and I think the club, it would have come out this week when they were talking about him that he would have been fit. So I think he is going to be out. So you're looking.
So we've got JP in the middle,
with probably Davis, isn't it?
Tom Davis. It's a weak midfield. It's a weak midfield. Yeah. If you're playing against that, you go, do you know what, Takore and Capoue? They go, blitzing through that.
It is,
Interesting. Are we assuming that Delpha's not going to be part of it? Starts training this week,
he started training this week.
If he's fit enough, he goes in for me. I've just got a feeling he won't be. We might see him at some point. The good thing is, if he's on the bench, you might think, if that is getting walked through, he knows he can change at half time and bring him in for, I don't know, maybe, well, it could be either of them really after that game.
So if that's the case, if it's Gabam I'm Tom Davis in midfield, Richarlison, Bernard Sigurdsson, or will he play Iwobi?
I would like to see a new face in there, because although it's a lot, you need to give a bedding in period for these new players. That to me is just deploying the same side again and hoping for different results. And I had a piece earlier this week in the Echo where I'd actually like to see him potentially, change the lineup formationally if possible, but I did touch on that. It could be difficult without the personnel this week, but I hate to see another campaign of a 4-2-3-1. I think he needs to change it and utilise the new personnel.
Sorry, it's an excellent one. I know Everton fans have spoke about it on social media. Has Bernard's got a situation now where he's got to worry for his team?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I was saying before about competition, and I think that's good. I was sort of disappointed with him on Saturday. Got myself into good positions a couple of times, didn't really make the most of it. In the second half, I should have played Luca Dean in behind the fullback, and he chose the centre, and he tends to overplay it a bit too much for me. So I think he is. I think maybe, ironically, I haven't spoken about 4-3-3 at the start. I'm just wondering whether you might play Six in a slightly deeper role on.
What, like
as a centre midfielder?
Yeah.
Do you mean in a 4-3-3?
Yeah, if we got JP and Tom Davis, you may think actually I need to play Siggy in a more.
That's actually what I said in the piece.
Yeah.
You said he should, and then you've got a potential front three of a Wobie, Ken and Richarlison, which is up there, isn't it? Really? He might have last season's game on the back of his mind where he did get sort of overpowered, a little bit of Goodison.
That's what worries me with them two in the
field. I think
he
might want to play Six in a slightly deeper role. And then front three, you've got a bit more options then, isn't you? You don't necessarily have to play Calvert-Lewin.
Can you actually see him playing 4-3-3 though, Gav? If we're presuming on Saturday it's 4-2-3-1, you've got Gabam and Davis. Who do you think's going to be that three across the line? Richarlison, Sigurdsson, Bernard or Wobie? Who do you think it'll be?
Good question. I'm not sure about Wobie's, but is Wobie going to be fit?
Yeah,
what about Keane? We'll call him Keane. Yeah. It's pair anyone from two or three from five names, isn't it? Really, Calvert-Lewin. I don't know. I'm just wondering whether he might play. If I play Sigurdsson, and you could play Sigurdsson in a deeper role in the three, you could play names off this. You could play Richarlison, Wobie, Bernard or something like that.
Yeah.
Just at top of my head, or where but say Richarlison as the middle one there. I'm just. We've got several options. What we haven't got is like a settled pattern of play that I think you're talking about, isn't it? Where you get a front three, each other's game. In other words, I don't know. So.
Would you start with Moise Keane?
Yeah, I would.
Start him.
I think you'd have to. Yeah, I think going back to your point. The good thing about bringing new players in, it does lift the crowd, doesn't it? And I think if first game of the season, Moise Keane starts, I think that'd be crowds bouncing, and he'd be up for it as well. And
imagine he gets a goal as well.
Yeah, imagine that. So
who will come off, Gav?
Think
you might get off your seat.
Sitting behind you. Yeah. Andy Johnson scored on his debut, didn't he, against Watford?
He did.
In the first
a bit of a deflected effort,
wasn't it?
Yeah. I like.
Who's the last person to score in the debut?
No, Lookman did as well, didn't he?
Lookman did a few, yeah.
Since, interesting. So,
Richarlison scored on his debut, didn't he?
Yeah.
He scored two?
Yeah, Wolves away.
Last season. There's no list as long as that.
No, but on the opening of the season, I can't think of many at Goodison. Like the first Goodison game of the season, who scored on the debut. But yeah, I think you maybe think there's a bit of a show busy type selection, isn't it? I suppose. But you might say, well, give us 45-60 minutes and then see where it takes us. Because he needs minutes, doesn't he?
Definitely, indeed. Before we wrap up, prediction time. Everton versus Watford, David.
I'm gonna go comfortable 2-0.
Comfortable 2-0.
Comfortable
against the Watford team that's conceded in 16 games on the spin, Gav.
And some of them have been conceded 3 or 4, haven't
they? Last week, Brighton.
I'm going to go even better than that. I'll go 3-0 because I think they may have shot.
Do you think? Yeah. Oof. I think it'll be tougher than what we think. They've been beat off Brighton 3-0. They'll be smarter from that. They won't want to come to Goodison again and lose 2 on the spin opening games. They spent a few quid themselves as well, haven't they? So I think it'd be tough. I'd go, could be in for a classic, I reckon 3-2 Everton.
But the last 2 games here have been mini class, haven't they? 3-2 and 2-all, was it? So bit of history there. Just say, by the way, Richarlison scored in both of his appearances at Goodison.
in this fixture,
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
interesting,
your
man.
first score for Scotty Bet TV.
It is indeed. I'll get on that.
Saturday,
I'll get on with Charlatan. Now I'll go for Sigurdsson just because he's on the pens. That's what I'll go for, Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson 3-2.
That's a cheat, that, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Sigurdsson
Really?
3-2.
Oh, is he on the pens, by the way?
I think he should be.
You see his record at Goodison?
It's awful, isn't it?
So took 3, missed 3, something like that. Yeah.
So that's
Interesting.
kind of, before you get to Goodison, so make sure you see Gav in St Luke's Church signing all his books. There'll be a queue longer. You'll be able to get to buy the KFC in County Road. That's how many people will be queuing to meet Gav. Seriously, make sure you go and see the book. Well worth a read. Blues, thanks for tuning in. If you see us squinting behind the camera, it's because the sunset is beaming down on the Mersey at the Bramley Moore Pub. Thanks for tuning in on the All Together Now podcast. Thanks to Gav, David, as usual, and we'll be back next week for the next episode.